G'day, welcome to Cuba de Rio. I'm Matt Scolle. This week, I thought I had such a overkill of sailing sound bites that I thought we might start this episode with a few of the noises around the 29-foot aerial, because we finished our sail across the Caribbean this week, and that's what it's coming up in the package that follows this. But yeah, it was incredible sailing across the Caribbean, arriving at this remote Colombian island, and just having to get off it. It was amazing. So yeah, it's been an incredible week. I'm so thankful to both Rob and Steve for having me on board and treating me very well as crew. Motor sailing as quick as we can away from Panama. We're in the middle of the Caribbean Sea right now. We cannot see any land in all directions, so it's all just perfectly navy blue ocean, as there's quite a lot of cloud cover. A crazy German sailor yesterday warned us there's a lot of rain on this side, so I'm recording while I can. It's dry. So we motored past Colon yesterday, dropped off the crew members, and now we're down to a basic three. That's Dos Abuelos and me. And we're doing it. We got the current, we got the wind, we got the motor running perfectly, and we refused to pay our last marina as a fuck you gift to Panama, because they treated us terribly there. Oh god, having Astro on board as our final pilot through the canal really soured the mood on board. But we're finally away from her, and we're gunning it towards San Andres in about 48 hours at our current speed of 6 knots. Headed on a bearing of 330 degrees. It's going to be good. Night sailing, and it is the perfect image of solitude out here. You cannot see any lights or humanity. We're in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, and there is glittering both above and below us. There's a few stars poking out between the clouds, but most incredibly, there is phosphorescence out here, and we are opening a ever-sparkling curtain as we plow through the Caribbean at about 4 knots right now. It is so gorgeous, and the lights off our prop just glow into the distance behind us. It's brilliant. I'm enjoying this so much. Don't think there's too many podcasts out there with live recordings of dolphins off the bow. How cool is this? We had a couple of squalls this morning, keeping us wet, but now we're joined by a pod of about 16 bottlenose dolphins, and they are loving the free ride off the bow. They're all fighting for space here off the rather small bow of the aerial. Caribbean is majestic. Land ho! Yeah, we can see Providencia. We had a change of course during the night because we were making such good time from San Andres, 90 k's to the south of us, to Providencia, which is the more famous of the two islands, because it is absolutely brilliant for diving. From here we can already see the halo of coral reef that surrounds the island. The island itself looks like a gigantic spiny tortoise has sort of just come up for a breath of air. It's brilliant. And yeah, it means that we're very close to the end of my voyage aboard Ariel with the Dos Abuelos, and it's been excellent. I must say, I can understand why people fly, because it is a slow process, this sailing business, but it is in no way unpleasant. And I get to read a lot. I've destroyed a bunch of books. I'm reading The Danish Girl at the moment, in addition to having finished my epic Age of Wonder about romantic science by Howard Croft. That is fabulous, by the way. And yeah, just being sat here on the windshield, watching the waves, watching flying fish. I must say these are becoming my new favourite animals, these things. They sort of shoot out of the water, and the big ones know what they're doing. They sort of glide across the waves using the ground effect with mesmerising quality. I love watching them. But the little ones look like they're just surprised that they can fly at all, and they sort of get out of the water and, oh shit, I can't breathe. How do I stay up? Why am I here? No one's explained why we can do this as a species. It's just, they look helpless. And then when they hit the water sometimes, I don't know if you've ever seen like that archive footage of World War II pilots falling off the end of aircraft carriers and that ungainly splash. The big ones can manage to do an elegant dive into the water, but these little ones sometimes just hit the water like a pescatarian belly flop, I guess. But yeah, it's an excellent way to see the world, and what a brilliant way to see the Caribbean. Like, there is no more blue ocean in the planet than this gorgeous ocean. It's not an ocean, it's a sea, but seriously, it deserves the title of ocean because it has a singular blue quality. It's so pretty. It's dark when there's storm clouds, but right now when it's sunny, we've got excellent conditions. It's just this iridescent navy sort of deep blue. It's just gorgeous. Anyway, we've had fabulous conditions the entire morning. No motor. We've been sailing along at a pretty brisk 5.4 knots and the like, and what a glorious way to end the trip with the Dos Abuelos. Canal, Caribbean, and now Colombia. I couldn't ask for a better paradise for these Dos Abuelos to have left me. Providencia is the most easterly part of Colombia, and it's all the way out here. It's 170 kilometers from Nicaragua and over 800 kilometers from Colombia. So it is remote from its motherland, and that means that it's got a very small population. Only 5,500 people live on this island, and they are pretty hard done by when it comes to goods and services. There was very little fresh fruit when I was here, and the motorcycles, because that's the only way to get around, all have tires that are bald as your grandfather. Like, it's incredible. I don't know how it goes in the rain, but I reckon there's a lot of accidents on these little winding coastal roads. But this island was just brilliant. Off Morgan's Head, which is a brilliant snorkel site, I met a bloke called Stevie, and I have done this podcast such a disservice because I failed to interview Stevie when I had the chance, and he was just the most incredible person I've met. He was one of those guys that could drop a bombshell in every fourth or fifth sentence of his life. I'll give you a quick brief of his bombshells. So he opened with an early one. He lived in a cave in the Bahamas for 7 months. And I can understand why you drop that early in a conversation. Like, when I'm speaking to strangers, I always mention the fact that when I was 15, I lived in Costa Rica. It sparks interest. But then this guy kept going. So he lived in a cave for 7 months. And then he had played professional football for Chile. And I was like, what? And then he started this trip 3 years ago with $300 in his pocket. And I was like, hang on, how did you have a professional career in football and then start this trip with $300? And he was like, oh, I spent 3 months in Ibiza and spent every cent, or more or less. And he was just incredible. Like, his conversations just kept going, and I was on the back foot, just incredulous the entire time. Incredulous, but believing every word. He was a great storyteller and such a good conversationalist, so I apologize profusely for not having him on. But yeah, he really made my Providencia trip a little easier because we snorkeled around Morgan's Head. The coral is shallow and fantastic. It's really, really in good nick here. And we went 600 meters up the coast to a cave. And the caves here are special because Santa Catalina, which is like this little growth off the side of Providencia, was the headquarters for a pirate called Henry Morgan, who terrorized the Caribbean in the 15th century. And he used Santa Catalina as his base to attack the Spanish galleons coming out of Colombia that were carrying all the gold from South America. And he really made a mess of the place. And so there's old fort installments there that have been used by Henry Morgan's team himself. There's all these subterranean caverns that you can swim into from the ocean. It was just so much fun, and to be exploring it with this wild caveman was just brilliant. Like, we adopted his methods when I was traveling around with Stevie. Like, we were eating mangoes we found on the ground, which I've done before, but with this guy it's just had an extra kick to it. It was so cool. And then when we got to this cave 600 meters around the coast, we just step into it, and we all keeping our eyes peeled in this cave for treasure chests buried in corners and the like. But instead we were attacked by bats, and these bats just poured down from the roof, and it was like something out of the beginning of Batman Begins. It was just crazy. We were surrounded by bats and naked in our swimmers and just cowering. It was such a fun day. So I highly recommend Providencia to anyone that gets a chance to come up here. Diving, we're back at it. Providencia is Colombia's most famous dive spot, and this morning I just did my first dive here in Colombia, and we went down to 15 meters on this amazing wall that drops off the edge of the island. It looked incredible on the sailing charts when we were coming in, because the island's surrounded by about maybe 2 kilometers of shallow water that's maybe 15 meters deep, and then just drops off to 300 meters, and we were on this wall, and we were going along, and there's heaps of coral, heaps of fish, and then there were sharks, and I've never dove with sharks before, but there were reef sharks, and they were between like 1 meter and 2 meters long, just gorgeous, and they were coming so close to you, you could see like the individual like ribbons of muscle working along their sides as they glided past you. It was just awesome, and there was probably about 10 of them just like swimming around our dive class, and some of the people got so freaked out that they were both like they used too much air. They were breathing so fast, and so about a third of the class had to leave the dive about 25 minutes in to a 40-minute dive. It was very unexpected. But then we found lionfish, and you may remember that lionfish are a huge pest that escaped from some aquarium in Florida, and are such a menace down here in the Caribbean. And so when our Creole-speaking dive guides speared one of these lionfish, the sharks went crazy, and they were all trying to steal the dead fish off the end of his harpoon, and like they were all like brushing past him. So they're all these fabulous Creole black guys that run this dive shop, and Felipe, who owns the shop, he looks like Aquaman should. He's got dreads that are been there so long, they're all like yellow, and he's just a beast of a man. When they put his tank in the water, he didn't inflate his BCD, so the tank sank to the bottom, and he just jumped off the boat, went and just free dived down with no preparation to retrieve his tank. It was incredible. So this guy is great, and here he was fighting off sharks for this dead lionfish on the end of his harpoon, and I'm afraid the sharks won. They got away with it, but they were in a proper frenzy for a few minutes there. I might mention before we step off Providencia that it's crab migration season, and so every night there are huge crabs coming down from the mountains to lay their eggs at the sea. And even on Santa Catalina, this manifested itself in a constant rustle throughout the bushes and trees on the side of the paths. It was amazing. Anyway, to escape Providencia, there's a very limited ferry service, as you would associate with a island that's got very limited goods and services. I had to get up at 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning on my birthday and catch a ferry out all the way to San Andreas, which will be our next stop. So stick around. And as it is the week in which we were on the Ariel, I managed to sit down with both Captain Steve and Rob of the Dos Abuelos duo. So Steve will lead the two interviews, and Rob was a little aware that red light was blinking at him the whole time, but he follows. And yeah, these are two great guys. They really have added such a fantastic chapter to my trip, and I'm exceedingly thankful to both of them.
My name is Steve Freeman. I'm from Vancouver, BC, Canada.
And you're the captain of the Ariel. So how long have you been with her?
I've owned Ariel since the early 90s, 1992 or something like that. And I sailed around Vancouver quite a bit, and then I left in 98 with her to go south to Mexico.
All right, so why a sailboat? Why not a nice motorboat that you can do jet skiing off the back? What's it about sailing?
I don't know. I've always been interested in sailing. I'm a prairie boy, actually, so maybe that's what got me into being interested in the ocean, you know. And I learned to sail when I was a little kid on the reservoir in Calgary. So I've always been into sailing.
That's the thing. All right, brilliant. So we'll take you back to learning to sail in the middle of Canada. Like, what sort of vessels are you on? What are you doing? What club are you doing it through?
This was a city program for kids during the summertime, and my mother put me into it because I had nothing to do during the summer.
All right.
So. Yeah, we had an excellent time, you know, and I can't remember. I think they were. We had a boat called a Fireball and a Y-Flyer, which were really old boats at that time. But it was really good. We had a good time.
How many kids are in this program, you reckon?
There must have been 20 kids in there, and they taught us how to race and everything, and it was pretty challenging too because the wind comes up on the reservoir and knocks everybody over. And yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Any wounds on you from those early sailing days, or?
No, nothing like that. No, but.
And what prompted the move to Vancouver then? Why did you leave the prairies?
I don't know. I just always wanted to move to Vancouver. You know, I had the opportunity because. I was an electrician, so I could move around a little bit, and I went there for a vacation, and I just stayed and made that my home. It's not too far away from Calgary, really. You know, I can go back for Christmas and whatnot. So, yeah. But I spent like 25, 30 years in Vancouver.
Wow. All right. Mm-hmm. So give us an idea. What are the cool centres in Canada where, if you're in the middle of Canada and you're looking to go to a big city, why would you go to Vancouver over Toronto or any of those other centres?
Vancouver, they say Vancouver's the Mecca of Canada. Everybody in Canada has to go to Vancouver at least once in their lives, right? It's the mildest climate in Canada. It's a beautiful city, and a lot of people are attracted to it for that, you know, for those reasons.
Yeah. And you mentioned your electrician job. You surprised me in that you managed to travel around the world doing electrical engineering. What sort of places have you been?
Well, just a period of time in Saudi Arabia, which was in the 80s. And it was an excellent job to get. It was just perfect. I got it through Rob's friend, and just by chance, you know. He was a carpenter, and he got the job from a guy in the mall in Calgary. Just happened along and was looking for a carpenter to go to Saudi Arabia of all sorts.
Do some balustrades.
Yeah, and so 3 of us ended up going over there with that same deal, and it was great. It was tax-free. It was
ideal.
Yeah, it was pretty good, but it was 3 months on and 1 month off, and 3 months of straight working every day, you know. Got to be a little much, and so
And
I
in
thought
your
I
one
was
month
rich
off,
enough.
did you see much of Saudi Arabia, or did you go visit Europe or do something like that?
No, they gave you a round trip back to Canada for that month off. That's it was a 3 month hitch, and they fly you in and out.
You were the first FIFO worker, fly in, fly out then.
Yeah.
They're all the rage these days. Brilliant. So when did you get into sailing in the Vancouver scene?
Oh well, when I got out there, I shortly after I bought a small boat and sailed around, and you know, really enjoyed it with the family and everything, and it was really good.
All right. So your family's all grown up now. Have you got children?
Yeah, I've got a 40-year-old son now who's living in California, and he was on and off about sailing when he was young. You know, sort of being trapped on the boat was too much for him, but he's a bit of an adventurer, so.
Yeah, and so now that he's got kids of his own, will you hopefully take the grandchildren on an Abuelos trip of their own event?
Yeah, I thought of that. Yeah, I thought that would be a great thing to do. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to bring the boat over to the Caribbean to do that sort of thing, and also to take my family from Mexico around the Caribbean too, because you know we're very close in Huatuco to
Rio Dulce and all that.
yeah, so it could be easily happen for a couple of weeks.
So before we reflect on this trip, what's the future trips for Ariel? What's she going to do while she's on this side of this side of the canal?
Well, I think the first thing would be to go to Cuba to do that, and then maybe come back to Rio Dulce for the. But Cuba's always someplace I've wanted to go, and I think it could be a really nice trip.
So are you planning a full-scale circumnavigation of Cuba, or what have you got in mind?
I was thinking just the leeward side for now, but I'm not sure. I really haven't made that much of a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was getting here was the big challenge.
Certainly. Well, tell me about those challenges then. Like, how long have you guys been on this trip from Huatuco around?
Well, we left in April. April 6th. And our plan was to be here in Rio Dulce in the middle of May. But now it's the end of May, 1st of June, and we're still en route. But we've had problems all the way with mechanical problems on the boat because the boat was in dry dock for 7 years there in Huatuco, and during that time we had the motor reinstalled, and some of the mechanical work was not done properly, so we're still suffering the consequences of those mistakes.
So it's not the boat showing her age then, because she was built in the 1970s, wasn't she?
Yeah, 1974. Yeah. No, it's been pretty well kept up. You know, it's got a new motor, and the rigging is all new. I upgraded to bigger sizes and stuff, so it's pretty heavy duty. I left Vancouver not really knowing what was in store, but along the way I've learned.
Yeah. I enjoy the fact that you still fly the Canadian flag off the back of her, and when people ask how long have you been at sea, you say, I left Vancouver in 98.
Yeah. Especially those racers we ran into, they made it in 2 weeks to Panama, Seattle to Panama.
Well, without souring the tone of the podcast too much, give us an idea of the frustrations you met wading through the Panama Canal bureaucracy there.
Oh yeah, it was. We had quite a time because it's a strange bureaucracy, all right, and they have this rule that a minimum speed for a boat should be 8 knots, which is for a sailboat that's phenomenal. Maybe a catamaran can do 8 knots, but nothing else, you know. So basically, you have to lie to get through the canal.
Yeah.
And then they will make provisions for you if you're a sailboat. But in our case, for some reason, it was just a perfect storm the first day we tried it, with having to go a long distance to get to the first lock, and then having to go against the headwind and a tide that was coming out. We were only doing 3 knots against the whole thing. And in that, I made the mistake of telling the advisor that we were only doing 3 knots. He took that as the speed of the boat, and when we had to turn around, he reported that was the speed of the boat. So
yeah, and I must say that was Astro that submitted that report, and he's got an amazing ability in that he made the temperature on board drop by several degrees when he showed his face again at the other end of the canal. Like,
yeah, amazing.
How amazing was that?
Amazing. I can't believe he showed up like that. But anyway, I told him what happened, what the consequences were. It cost us a lot more money, but in the end, we got through. I was sure that we could go fast enough because the boat has been through the canal twice before. So, so we made it through, and we had an excellent day going through because of the help we had, you know, with you guys and all the backpackers from the hostel. We had a really good day. It was an excellent time.
So, reflecting on the crew then, how's Rob been as a first mate? He seems to know his stuff around the boat these days.
Rob's always got a happy attitude, eh? So that's a good thing. And he always comes up with great ideas, you know. But we're both getting pretty old, so, you know, we got to watch out for each other. And sometimes I get a little anxious when the safety issues could arise, you know, but we've done all right, you know.
Certainly.
You know, we've managed along, so I think it's been a good experience for both of us. We've had some tense moments because, you know, we're both not rich, and the plan was to get the trip done, and Rob could get back to go to work and whatnot. So there's been some anxious times about that, but that's in the past now, and we're still broke. So.
And you're 5 days or so sailing from the end goal. Give us an idea. There's reports of Pirates of the Carribean between here and Roatan. So how are you going to deal with that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'd heard that before in online blogs and whatnot, that cutting the corner of Honduras to go to Roatan from here can be the fishermen or whatever opportunists could take advantage of you because they know exactly what channel you're coming through, you know, and probably pretty slowly. So having been here in the port captain's office and talking to these other boaters, I've now decided that we should go around the outside and just avoid the whole thing. Not only that, but it's very shallow, and a lot of it would have to be done at night, I'm sure. So with just Rob and I, it's probably better off to get out into the open ocean.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's going to be great weather, so we can sail most of it, I think.
Undoubtedly. What's finally, before we finish up, what's your impression of Providencia here? We've got a lot of noise around us, so describe the scene for the people at home.
I really like it. We've only been ashore here now for a couple of hours, but this is the hub, obviously. Everybody's hanging out here, and motorcycles, scooters going by, and everybody seems pretty happy and friendly. It's totally different atmosphere from Panama City.
Yeah.
It seems a lot more resortish, and it looks like a beautiful island with lots to do, lots to enjoy.
Certainly. Well, thank you very much for having me on board. It's been a brilliant trip. So.
Yeah, I should add that you've been an excellent crew. Probably the best that's ever been on Ariel, and I appreciate it completely. You know?
That's right.
You
it comes down to the
right
cooking
away.
skills, mate.
No, it worked out really good, and I'm really happy we did it.
All right. Brilliant. Cheers, mate. And thanks for coming on.
Okay, take care.
My name is Rob Fraser, and I'm from the province of Alberta in Canada.
And where do you fit in this Dos Abuelos voyage?
I am kind of a support crew member for my esteemed captain, Steve.
Would you not say first mate? Like,
we haven't made that many advances.
No. And how's the voyage been so far?
Yeah, tense at times, good at other times.
Yeah.
A mix, really.
A mix. How's it feel being in Providencia now? You got a couple of days rest there.
It's a very nice spot, very quiet. I quite like it. It's time to recharge our batteries and reprovision, and we'll be on our way.
And so what sort of things have drained those batteries?
Intense issues in other countries. You're crossing a lot of borders and dealing with a lot of people, and the sailboat has issues with weather and repairs and stuff. It's just intense. It's not like being in your back porch.
No, that's for sure. But I don't know, in terms of looking after the boat, what sort of expertise can you bring to looking after a vessel like this?
A lot of cleaning and washing. And I row the little boat sometimes to shore.
The dinghy. You're the dinghy master.
Yeah, well, somewhat. And I try to help the captain steer the boat and do all of that stuff.
And how do you fit the abuelo persona? What makes you an abuelo versus one of these younger strapping crew members?
Abuelos have some background, and they use it to advance, and they integrate the young people's views on this stuff, and we seem to get along quite well, and we are doing quite well.
Yeah. You seemed quite taken aback by the difference of world views that you've met amongst all the... I think we've had, 8 crew members through this boat in the last week.
It's very interesting. They're mostly young, and they have their own views and opinions, but it's great. We need to have that dialogue.
Yeah, and so what sort of things have you found out from these crew people that we've had on board that you didn't know previously?
That a young man from Switzerland can be an admiral. You don't have to be in the Navy. And you can do well. Yeah,
and so I don't know what it is. I don't know, do you feel there's a generational gap that it's clearly not unsurpassable? You got on well with everyone that we've had through the boat and everything?
Not really. The Dos Abuelos are always pretty understanding of the younger generation coming up, and like to see them in action and learning things, and we feed off of that too. It makes us a little better.
Yeah. And I don't know, what ways can you guys be better? You've made it to Providencia from all the way back in Mexico. That's a pretty huge achievement in itself. How can the Dos Abuelos improve?
Well, we've got some tough legs. There's many lessons to be learnt from this point on, but we've got a very large leg this next one.
Was it 4 days between here and Roatan? Yeah.
We've been challenged all the way. So just for people of our age group to compete and do this is amazing, I think.
Yeah, no, you certainly got a lot to be proud of. And what was the challenge that you faced on the Pacific side of?
Oh, some bad weather, some equipment problems, delays, having to get parts out of wherever. It was very demanding and testing. The captain endured, and we got it all done, and we made it this far. So we're looking. We see the gate. We're headed for the checkered flag.
You're going for it, headed towards the light. And physically, how do you feel like you're holding up on this this trip?
Personally, I think I need a holiday from sailing. I never thought I'd say that, but it could well be.
So how come why did you sign up for this trip then? Like,
I have to support my amigo, the Uno Abuelo.
how far back do the Dos Abuelos go? What's the origin story?
I would say till 1960s. So we've known each other for a while. But this is probably, we learned more on this trip than ever.
Yeah.
You know, about people and us and the interaction and the boat and the sea. It's great.
So what have you come to depend on while you've been on this trip? Because there's an awful lot of technology on this boat. I'm very surprised at how technology literate you guys are in terms of the iPhones and the charts and that.
Well, we have a lot of the latest stuff, but even at that, we never seem to have enough, and we're always trying to learn it. But like from the young people on the boat, they've been helpful, kind of encouraging us to go at it, and it's given us enough. In the old days, we'd say with paper charts and stuff, it was a totally different beast. So
we don't have a table large enough here for paper charts.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. But I think we're going to be okay.
And like Helmut, how's he as a crewmate?
He's the best damn German I ever had on a ship.
I agree. Yeah.
He never complains, unlike myself. And he's always there for duty. Although he punished me today, making me sail the boat for a ways. I
know, he got too hot, poor bastard.
Yeah.
He feels the heat as well.
It's just the way he wanted to be, you know.
Yeah. And in coming in contact with all these different countries that we have through the 3 crews that we've had on this boat in the last week, like what Canadian stereotypes have you had to come in contact with?
Well, that we're a peaceable tribe and not looking to make trouble. Sometimes we argue back a little too much, I think. But for all the crew that's been on, we had some very nice New Zealanders, a couple. They were great people. We never had a moment of friction, really. It was great.
And I don't know, when you're in these boat clubs and Balboa yacht clubs and the like, do you hold the Canadian banner high, or where's that sit in your relationship with everyone that you find on this trip?
I would think we're just another world member in the cruising community, and it's all good. We're quite happy to have that status as being out there with the rest of the people. What
sort of characters have you come in contact in this cruising community of yours?
Some very strange ones. But it'd take too much detail to get into that.
Oh, that's what we're after. We're looking for a bit of detail.
But cruisers can be an odd bunch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And we're dealing with mechanics and everything, really. All sorts of people. Most of them are genuine, 100% good.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, you had some engine issues, and you had Paul on board back in Panama there. Like,
interesting fella, yeah.
Very interesting fella. Can you give us an idea of what he was like to deal with? Because I
personally liked Paul. He seemed to explain things to my way of thinking well. And I don't know, I never had a problem. It's just, we had people back farther in Costa Rica that just went out of their way to help us fix the boat. And, you know, we have the language that those Abuelos are not that good at Spanish speakers.
No, but you're really trying. I mean, I'm so impressed. You're reading this sodden newspaper that's suffered how many squalls?
It's bilingual.
It's a bilingual Panamanian newspaper, and you're still going at it.
It was somewhat of a soggy read, but I did try to get through it.
And like, why do you see Spanish as being useful to you at this point?
I don't know. It's a very large block of language on this side of the world, and I think if you're going to be bilingual, English and Spanish is the best way to go.
And I don't know, would it be useful for you back in Canada? What do you do there?
Not particularly. I would have to come out of Canada, head back down.
Towards the States or something where they've got
Yeah.
100 million plus Spanish speakers there.
Yeah, they've got lots.
Yeah.
But there it is.
What do you do back home?
Very little. I'm a dos abuelo, retired.
Retired?
Well, I work part-time in the summer so I can finance these expeditions down south.
So we met a planter that was planting trees in Canada the other week, but what's your summer job?
Mine is paving, running heavy equipment, hauling asphalt trucks. Just a little summer job. Makes me a little bit plus my pensions to travel down here.
Yeah. And so, like, how long have you been doing that? Has that been your career for the whole stretch, or?
Actually, I'm newly retired, so that was my first go at that. But I've cooked away the time here, and I'm out of money and out of options, so probably won't even have a job when I go back. But you got to look at the experiences and say, well, would you leave home for the job, or would you go to Roatan, for instance?
Yeah.
I think there's other things to be pursued here at my age.
So what sort of experiences are you after?
Just learn the world, see people, do things. Nothing fantastic, that's for sure. Get home to my kids, eventually.
Eventually.
They'll survive without me.
Certainly. Like, I don't know. What would you like to finish up on?
Yeah, just to say to the young people, just keep on doing what you're doing. It's great. Moving around the world, learning about other cultures, I think it's fantastic. So
that
I'm just trying to emulate them in a small way.
you're not doing too badly. Like, picking up the Spanish.
Yeah, well, it's a smart person told me that I don't have the elasticity in my brain to really pick it up well. But we'll leave it at that. I'm going to keep trying.
Well, I must say, like, you've shown that you've got you've got way more elasticity than most other people your age that I know. So, and way more willingness to increase the skills that you have. So, and that's not the case with everyone I've spoken to. But yeah, anyway, thanks for being first mate, and hope you enjoyed your trip with the Dos Abuelos, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Well, thank you, and continued good luck in your travels into South America. And we hope to hear from you as well.
How weird is it sailing north to get to South America?
Well, I don't know if they'll buy it.
No. We got the French to thank for this little island, but that's about it. Anyway, all right, cheers, Rob.
Okay, thank you.
And that's it for another week. Next week, we're starting our trip on San Andreas, which is Providencia, but completely different. So stick around for that. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you check out the Facebook pages, because I can't take this mic underwater, and so it doesn't capture the amazing colours of the reef, and that's certainly what my camera can. So yeah, make sure you check those out. If you enjoy listening, leave a review on iTunes, and tell the people around you, because that really helps us out. So thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you next week when we tackle San Andreas and then continental Colombia.